Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 8 of our 7-day challenge, our 7-day course. It's a bonus day. This is Relationship Rockstar 2020, and I want to simplify your learning going forward. So we just spent 7 days, lots of content, tons to kind of absorb, many tools, but it can be overwhelming. So I want to simplify that so that you can take that forward, okay? And I'm Stacy Rocklein. I'm a relationship literacy coach. I've been your coach along the way here for the last 7 days, and really just happy to have anybody who joined us. I really see any live course or coaching session as this kind of magical moment that we create together, right? It takes me and it takes you, and so I'm grateful for anybody who came and joined us and found something useful to use going forward. So thank you very much for being a part of this creation. Just a little bit, this was a 7-day course to help you set the course for your relationships for 2020. And there are 8 after this one, live trainings that have been recorded. So those are now all on my page, Stacy Rocklein Relationship Literacy. You can go back and watch those. I don't know how long they're going to be up, but for now they're available to everybody, as well as the free downloadable workbook. And you can get this at rockstar.com, and it's just got PDFs and follow-alongs and exercises that go with all the trainings, so you can still grab that for free too. Make sure that you do that. Let's see here. Just want to any other housekeeping items. Like I said, right now it's free, so make sure that you share this with anybody who might find it useful. I don't know how long that will be available, but I want you to grab it while you can. So invite anybody to grab that workbook, watch the trainings, and learn a little bit, gain a tool, but let's figure out how to use those. That's what's really important. There are 2 important questions to ask yourself when you are coming out of a learning experience, right? You've just read a book, or you've taken a live course or an online course, or you've gone to a workshop, you've gone to a conference, you've listened to a podcast, and especially when something is really like high content, it can be completely overwhelming. And so what I do at the end of that experience is I start to ask myself these 2 questions, or I don't start to, I do ask myself these 2 questions. One of them is, what's the one thing that I want to take forward from this experience, okay? The thing is there's so much that if we just go, oh, this is really interesting, and gosh, I had some ahas and whatever, but I don't really know where to go from here, we can end up doing nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. So learning is fantastic, but without action, learning is kind of pointless, right? Our brains can only hold so much. We're going to eventually, most of that stuff's going to, get filed somewhere. We're never going to remember. It's going to slip out. If we don't follow up with action, it's not going to benefit our life. But it's too much to do all at once sometimes. So it's really important to figure out what one thing you can take going forward. And what I want you to think about is what will have the biggest impact on your relationships. So if we just review some of the things that we did, okay, we started out with the appreciation chain, which was every day doing appreciation until we get to 100 days in a row, right? So it's appreciation because that shifts the way you start to see other people and that you're in relationships with. It starts to shift your energy, and tracking because little habits over time create big changes, right? We did the text bingo. So if you're trying to get some conversations started with somebody and you're not really sure how to do that, that has lots of ideas for you. We picked a relationship word to use as a compass going forward. I've got mine posted right here. That mine is share. So I know that I want to stretch myself by always reaching out to share. Let's see, my little notes over here. We did our relationship step stool. So as you looked at where you need to grow, whether the person that you're with is capable of intimacy and what kind of intimacy you want in your relationships, What maybe action came out of that you can take? You might have right away figured out, well, that relationship has to probably end. Or, well, this is something that I need to do to improve myself, you know? Or now I know what this relationship is capable of and I'm going to treat it accordingly. Then we had auto responses. So picking something that you can quickly say without even thinking about, so you can start to shift yourself into a higher level energy, a more positive emotional reaction. So right now, if you're, dealing with a lot of triggers, right? You're doing a lot of arguing with somebody or fighting with somebody or disagreeing with somebody, or you're finding yourself in negative emotional reactions a lot, maybe that's the best thing for you to do. You want to pick the tool going forward that is going to have the most impact, that's going to pack the biggest wow for you. We did a relationship inventory. So that was a way of looking at our relationships and trying to figure out where there's a disconnect between how much energy we're putting in and how satisfied we are, or which relationships we're putting too much energy in or not enough energy into. And so you did get to a point in that exercise where you were picking an action. And so maybe that's what you need to take forward. You need to get your return on investment in line. And then finally you did your wish list, hopefully yesterday. And maybe what you want to take forward is visualization on how you want your relationships to be. So that's a big list. Pick one thing. Pick one thing you're going to do, right? As I was reflecting, going back over this last week, I was thinking to myself, see, I'm keeping my appreciation chain over here and out on my countertop because I have high standards for myself. And I tend to not appreciate my own self, right? I'm like, I hit my goals and then I'm on to the next thing, right? I'm like, I've got this high expectation, and if I meet it, I don't pay any attention to anything along the way. I don't appreciate myself. Well, that's a habit, and so it bleeds out into my relationships. And I have to acknowledge that I don't think I appreciate the people in my life nearly as much as I would like to for the little things that they do. And it felt really good for me this week to be logging that. And I noticed that as the week went on, my appreciation was doubling and tripling during a day. So for me, this is a practice that I'm going to keep going because I can see that what it's doing is, for me, it's impacting how I behave to the people I care very much about. So you have to ask yourself, question number one, what is one practice you're going to take forward? And then take this practice into your future. When you go to a big, long training, for example, at the end of the day, ask yourself that question. What's the one thing I'm going to act on? What's the one thing I'm going to take action on from this? And that's how we really start to grow. But that brings me to our next question. The next question is, where do you want to grow? So I think really good personal development, it has a couple of components, 3 components actually. One, there's timing, okay? The best personal development kind of sneaks in right when you're ripe to learn, right when you're ready. I know that there are lots of things that I've read and listened to and learned over my life, but I wasn't ready to receive what it was teaching. So it wasn't until I came back to it again later that I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. The timing really matters. So first, it has good timing when you're ready to learn. Next, it points out something that's wrong. It points out a problem. And then third, it helps you figure out how to fix it, okay? So my favorite personal development things are things that I'm ready to learn that show me what I'm doing wrong or what I'm doing to affect my life a certain way. They go, hey, Stacy, you're causing this problem. I'm all about personal responsibility. I believe that I can change my life. I can. I don't have to rely on anybody else. I don't need someone else to change. I can do it. So it points out, hey, Stacy, ding, 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 you got a problem here. And then it shows me how to solve my problem. That's my favorite kind of personal development. So then what do you do? What are your actions? I think that there's 2 kinds of learning goals. 2 kinds of goals. There's an action goal and there's a learning goal, right? When you figure out that something's wrong, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, how do I solve it? I'm notorious for going straight to Amazon or Google. If I've got a problem, I know there's an answer out there probably, and I'm going to go find it. I want to know how to solve my problem first, okay? So sometimes when you're setting up goals for yourself, like not just for relationships, not just here, but anywhere, you have a learning goal, right? I want to go do something, but I don't know how to do it yet. So the very first thing I need to do is go learn how to do it. And you know what? Give yourself credit for learning, okay? That is meeting a goal too. So first you need to know how to do it, and second, you need to put it into action. These are two different kinds of goals. And once you start taking actions, I highly recommend you track things. Okay, track things. Track things so that you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to hold yourself accountable to. Track them so that you have something to celebrate, right? When you do something over and over and over, celebrate yourself for it. That's why we have the appreciation chain, right? You're tracking something you're doing. And look, I made it to the end of our challenge, right? That's a whole week. That's something we're celebrating. Not only am I making a better habit for myself, but I'm also, I'm being consistent. And I'm proving to myself that if I set out to do something, that I can do it. So those are things that you want to do. Here's an example for me. I've got some big goals this year. But some of them don't make any difference. One of them that is relevant to this is my relationship goal. My relationship goal is all around, emotional intimacy. So I showed you the step stool. I should have grabbed it. But for me, having spent a long time repressing emotions, my emotional intelligence is really important to me. The reason it's important to me is because when I know what I'm feeling and I can identify it and I can allow myself to feel it, not only do I let emotions move through me instead of being shoved down and holding that energy within myself, but also I develop empathy. And the more I develop empathy, the more I can be intimate with other people, the better coach I can be, the more that I can be understanding of the world and love everything more, right? So that's really important to me. But that's really general, right? Emotional intimacy or emotional intelligence. So I have a very specific thing that I do. I'm a journaler, so every morning starts with journaling. The first question I ask myself is, how do I feel? Oh, I was going to grab this. Let me grab it real quick. Wait, I'm coming back. Sorry, I forgot. I was going to grab this really quick. When I first started out, and I still use this sometimes, I had to actually download an emotional wheel, right? That's how out of touch I was with my emotions. You can just Google these on, you can Google it. Anyway, it's got a lot of different emotions. So when I would not know exactly what I was feeling, I would look at that and try to figure it out, right? So I get up every single morning and I ask myself how I feel, because I'm trying to get in touch with my more tender, sensitive emotions underneath what I usually cover up with anger. Anyway, that's my goal is emotional intimacy. My action step is writing what I'm feeling. I've got my journal. I've got that wheel to help me, right? And I'm tracking it. Every single day I track my big goals, right? This is my practice. I wake up, I write my goals 7 times. My big goals for this year. I write my goals 7 times, and I have committed to doing one thing to hit those goals every single day, and I track that. So every single day I'm an X on, like I told you in an earlier video, I would like to do a TED Talk, right? That requires figuring out what that's about, researching, writing an outline, figuring out the stories that go with it, creating a PowerPoint, submitting it. It's a lot of different steps, right? Some of it was learning, right? But 15 minutes every single day is going to get me to my goal, and I track that every single day. No different with relationships. Pick whatever is going to help you grow yourself to be a more connected partner in any kind of relationship, sibling, friend, intimacy, parent, child, whatever is your most important relationship that's going to have the biggest impact. How do you want to grow, and what is the exact action you're going to take? Okay? So we're going to review those in a second, but here's the other thing I want to say. If during the course of this course you came up against some things that that you want to learn more about and get better at. For example, this has been a light course, right? We've done some fun things. We've dabbled in some heavier items, but we haven't really dug in deep. And I do have another course for digging in deep. It's called Relationship Essentials. So if you got to a point where you were like, man, she talked about finding your good matches, I need more work with that. I need to know exactly what I'm looking for exactly what my deal breakers are, exactly who's a good match for me. That's in this course. If I mentioned that you want to get better at, or you figured out you want to get better at communication, right? We talked about communication. We talked about intimacy, but a lot of communication is how to talk about hurt feelings and how to have challenging conversations and how to deflate high, intense, damaging energy, stuff like that. That's all included in this course. Lots of stuff about communication. If you figured out that you've got a boundary issue, right? You don't know how to make healthy boundaries, or what's usually the bigger problem is putting them in place and holding them. That stuff's all in this course too. So we dive right into that. Let's see what else here. If you want to continue the conversation about how to build more intimacy, we just paused on it really quick when we were doing the relationship step stool, but we get into way more detail about how to get closer to somebody else. And if you're dealing with heartbreak, and I don't just mean breakups, heartbreaks happen inside of relationships. Things happen that really, really damage the connection, harm people. And if you're dealing with a heartbreak, or you've got to get over one, or you are in the middle of a breakup, this course has all kinds of ways to help you navigate heartbreak. So if you want more learning and more tools, then that course has all kinds of stuff in it. Same format as this, right? It's a training video and exercises. And I will put the link in the comments so that you can go there and find out a little bit more about that and grab that course if that's your next step. That's like a learning and an action goal, because there are tools in there. But maybe you just already know, I have an action that I want to take. Get some accountability, right? Find somebody who can hold you accountable. A friend, a therapist. I'm a coach. If you're ever interested in working with a coach, you can just message me. Happy to get together with you for a free one-on-one session to see if that's a good fit for you. Get some accountability, even if it's your own, even if it's just tracking, right? Even if you're just writing down X's, something that will hold you to your action, because all of those repeated actions, they make a big impact. And those big decisions make a big impact too, right? When you make a decision to walk away from a relationship or move across the country or whatever, those are huge impacts, and you need accountability and support for those. If you are a woman, I have a free Facebook group that is private called Women Committed to Relationships, and I do weekly trainings in there and just daily posts and stuff. So support in there. Please come join us if you're interested. So back to a quick review. Every time you finish learning a bunch of content, stop and ask yourself these two questions. 1, what practice, what habit, what action do I want to take away from this? Even though it was a ton of stuff, what do I want to start with? Other thing to add to that, I just want to say, if you have a bunch of things that you want to do, just start with one, right? Start with one, track one, get that one going, and then add in another one. Instead of being I'm going to do these 7 things all right now. That's almost a guaranteed recipe for disaster. So just start with one baby step that you can take over and over. What do I want to take forward? What one action do I want to do? And 2, how do I want to grow? If this personal development, this thing I just learned pointed something out to me that I know I want to shift and change and grow, what do I need to do to grow, right? How am I going to grow from this? What do I want, just focus on growth, whether that's learning or an action. Figure out what resource you need to go forward. And finally, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you by email, Stacy at stacyrocklein.com, by message, in the comments. I'd love to know, anything that you learned from this, any feedback you have. I love when I teach a course here, it's a Facebook Live. I don't get to really get that much interaction with you, and I would just love to hear about your experience. So if you have a second, just drop me a quick message or comment or something so that I can get to know you a little bit more and hear about your experience. I would love that so much. But beyond that, I just want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. Energetically, it is a big part of what we create here, is you being here. And thank you for turning toward your own relationships in your life And by doing that, you shift the energy of our whole world, and you bring more love into our entire world. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. We all need that. So thank you very much for being here for the last week, and I hope that we will stay in touch. Okay. Mwah.